So we're back on leadership, and we're going to take it a step further, and this is a really interesting piece because it's not only about the technical side of leading, but it's also about the emotional side of leading. And let's face it, when you've got a deadline coming up for a big report, or to build a bridge, or to confront a client that has got a major issue with you, then it can sometimes be a quite emotional event. So I really want to talk now about those lonely days and nights that leaders often have. When they're in the office, then they can certainly share the load with their peers and with their people in their teams, and sometimes with their bosses, although very often people are a bit nervous about sharing some problems with their bosses. So if you're going to be a leader, I think you need to just put your hand up and say, maybe I do need a bit of help with some of the emotional sides of leading a team, a project. So my main point here, I think, is that leaders don't have to do all the work. And when you think about it, and I referred in one of the other talks to Ben Zander, the great and famous now conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, he said he had a moment where it just dawned on him that the only person that doesn't make any noise when the performance is going on is the conductor, the most powerful person in the room. Ben Zander is the only one that doesn't make any music, but still has a huge impact on the mood of the team and the performance itself. So there's an insight for yourself to think about. Are you getting involved too much in the answers and too much in the communication of those answers to interested parties? Or have you the talented people around you where you can stay silent and give them the empowerment and the skills and the training behind the scenes, so that when they have to go out on stage or to do their performance or on the sporting field, that it's them that's doing it? Because if you can do that, I'm pretty certain you'll have less lonely days and less lonely nights, because you'll have trust and confidence in the people that you're leading. So it is an emotional job as a leader. And of course, it's not just one or two or three people you want to rely on in your team. You really want to set out to create a culture, and a culture in your team that encourages people and empowers people and gives people the confidence to naturally assume leadership roles, even if that leadership role may last only for an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours. For example, if you're working, and I have worked in a nuclear decommissioning facility, a very dangerous facility, then it can't be left to the leader to speak up when there is a hazard or a safety concern. It really has to be every person that comes onto the plant, whether they're a contractor or a subcontractor or a secretary or a manager, whoever sees the hazard has got to speak up. You can't leave it to the leader. So often the leader doesn't have to make any noise, a bit like the conductor, but create a culture or an environment where people naturally step forward and put their hand up and say, I think we've got a problem here and here's a solution. So that's what I'd really encourage you to do as well. And that will take some of the unrelenting pressure off yourself to be the person that's got all the answers. You really have got that responsibility, I believe, to build a culture of constructive criticism and of constructive suggestions, where people feel very happy to do that and very happy to keep the plant safe in the case of the nuclear facility.